Hey, Egg Teacher Christmas here, coming at you with another video. So this is video 2 of our Hippo River for our musical Christmas light display. Now this runs pretty much for only one song, which is I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, and it happens to be one of the favorite songs of my youngest viewers. Those are the youngest viewers that come in person. And it's really because of the frame all the way in the back, which is a hippo's bottom. You probably wouldn't be surprised how many 5 and 6 year old boys love the hippo's bottom because it's a bottom. So anyway, we're going to keep working on the Hippo River. So we're going to work a little bit more on the Hippo River, and we're going to have a little bit of conversation about Christmas lights and kind of how I got into that hobby. And kind of really what all started this, because just watching me put up strings is going to be kind of boring. And I don't really have a lot of input other than put the strings on stakes and keep going. So for this video, just hang out for the conversation. And you know, the other thing with this is this is a seasonal channel. So it only really runs from late October, maybe November, all the way through December. And then that's it. You know, a little bit in January when we tear down. So it's a very, very limited channel. And one of the surprising things is it grows at a faster rate than my Ag Teacher Thoughts, which is my plant channel. It grows faster in big leaps and jumps and spurts. So if you want to help us out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and just understand you're not going to get bugged at any other time of year other than about Christmas time, unless YouTube wants you to see Christmas in July. But November and December is the only time I upload. So if you want to be reminded 12 months from now about this channel and the cool Christmas stuff that goes on and things that you can learn, subscribe to the channel, and then when I pop up and do videos again, you'll see and you'll know, and you won't have to search for me or try to remember a year ago what you were watching. So without further ado, let's get you in close and we'll start working on the Hippo River. All right, first thing we should probably do is start putting up the hippo frames. You know, these need to go where they need to go, and I've kind of laid them out where I want them. This is a hippo, just the back of the hippo. It's one of the first frames that lights up. Lets you know that basically the hippo's about to appear. So if you think of the videos you saw as a kid of hippos in the rivers, that was the inspiration of this particular frame right here. So I used to do like a whirlpool looking thing out of lights, and it was kind of confusing, and so I came up with the idea of just having the back of the hippo stick out of the water. So that's what this frame is. And as I'm putting these together, if you see a frame you like, you know, I don't currently make these. They're not something you can go out and buy. Nobody does a hippo frame but me. But if you like these, I mean, if I get enough requests, I might find some time this summer to make a bunch of hippo frames so people can also do I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. You know, you might find these frames like at a zoo, but they're not commercially made. Since, you know, I'm also a plant channel, I also happen to have lots of pots. So this is a gallon nursery container. It's going to act as my Christmas light hider. So it's going to hide all the extra lights. And I'll finish with this later. But I could put all the excess lights in that, and then it disappears. It disappears at night. You can't really see it. So they just all tuck in there. I'll finish doing that part later on, off camera. Okay. And yes, my entire display is in fact held together with zip ties. It's just a quick way to put things up and take them down. This is one of the few frames that I did in a hurry, and I've never gone back and stripped it and repainted it, so it is a little rusty. I probably need to do that this summer. Wrong time of year to do it. You never work on decorations this time of year. You either use them or you don't use them. I think you can kind of see that one. This one I need to clean up a little bit. There we go. This is Bubbles. So this uses an old school motion light. So it uses a motion light controller. So if you think back, in the 90s, it was super popular to have motion lights. The controller's in there, and it goes through a motion light sequence, and it controls these 4 bubbles. So there's 4 circles here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like bubbles coming out. So that's the other channel here. That one's all good to go. We don't need to do anything with that one. This one's the first one where you get the idea that there's actually an animal that's going to pop up. So this is the hippo head. It's going to sit about that high, so it's got to be up above the grass. So we're going to put it there. So yeah, I hand built all of these frames. So way back in the day, I used to be I guess you'd call me a garden sculptor. So I used to make steel garden art. Did that in the early 2000s, right before the market crash of 08. In fact, I knew the crash was coming before everybody else did, because it was strange. In 07, everybody stopped buying art. And I went from making a lot of money selling art to making no money selling art. So I knew something was happening with the economy. Just a weird way to find out. I'll push this one down a little bit more so it doesn't spin. So all of these frames, they took me, all the bending, maybe a half hour. But I got really good at bending the 1/4-inch round bar when I was the sculptor. It just was natural to me. It's a skill I rely on. Doing that garden art actually got me into manufacturing, because I had experience with metal, as the shop said that hired me first. It's amazing what a little experiment or experience with metal will get you. Okay, so there's the hippo head. So that's the first time you start to see the clue that it's a hippo. I'll definitely show you all these when they're lit up. That's the front of the hippo. So the hippo face. And I'll organize all these. The lights slowly get twisted over the summer. I think that's about where I put them. This one just needs to go in deeper. Okay, so there's your face of your hippo. Yeah, I'll go fix these. I'll fix these later. All right. So headlights get knocked off during the move. I'll readjust them. Okay, so this is the first kind of broadside or full image that you get to see of the hippo. And let's see if I can get this up here. It's kind of hard to do with one person, but it's only ever one person when I'm doing the decorating. This is something I do pretty much on my own. I do like 95% of this. My children enjoy it, but they don't want to participate. It's Dad's crazy Christmas stuff. But, you know, they don't want me to not do it, but they don't want to help. So I do it myself. That was pretty high. That's okay. I don't think it'll go down any. I may readjust that one later. Okay, there's the broadside hippo. All right, now we have the southbound end of the northbound train. This will be our hippo bottom. All right, so there you go. There's the hippo frames. They're all mounted. They're up about where they need to be. Now, one of the things about wire frames is Christmas lights can short out if they're wet in contact with metal frames, and if those metal frames then are in contact with grass. So around those, if it still stays kind of warm, like this t-shirt weather and it's middle of November, if it still stays warm like this, I actually go with a pair of scissors and I cut the grass away from the bottom of the frame, just to make sure that it doesn't have grass on frame contact and then trip my electrical circuits. So yeah, I'm still a decorator that uses GFCI or ground fault current interrupter circuits because safety. A lot of people do away with those if they're a decorator because they cause problems, but I see them as a safety thing, and so I use them there, or leave them there. So anyway, now we're going to go ahead and lay out a bunch of the stakes. Going to film a little bit, then I'll pause it, and then I'll go through and we'll start putting the strings up. But yeah, let's get some more of the Hippo River in. So if you're wondering what I'm using light stakes. These are 8-inch stakes. This is one that's still in a box. I generally only buy these on clearance when I can get like a box for $1/4. Because I use hundreds of these, and I've got a whole bunch of boxes unused. And then a massive tote just filled with them. But they allow me to set up my yard grid and keep those lights up off the grass so they don't trip the circuit. This is something I've learned in all of my years of animated Christmas lighting, is definitely get the strings of lights out of the yard or out of the grass, and it gives you more time to run even when it's raining. As far as figuring out where they go, it's just kind of experience, but I am also going every 18 inches. We're putting another stake. This is going to loosely follow the contour of the river that we've decided. So these strings only come with a fuse anymore, and it's a single fuse. There's no replaceable light on these, so I hope they work. I got a test rig over here. Let me bring that over. Really, you should test every rig or light string you're going to do before you put them up. Oh, these are not full wave. That's going to be annoying. They got flicker in them. But before you put up a light string, you should always put it up after you've tested it. I kind of didn't do that. I just went for it because they're all brand new strings. They should be okay. Here, let's just test them all. Oh yeah, they're all on. I'm putting these up with the positive or the male plug that way, so it's not as easy to put them up. So let's do some chatting about Christmas lights. The biggest question I get is why? Why and how did I get into crazy Christmas lights? The why is, if you've paid attention to this channel or paid attention to the other, Ag Teacher Thoughts or Ag Teacher Christmas, I'm a pretty creative person and I need a creative outlet. I need something that interests me to hold my attention and keep me busy. I am not someone that can generally just kind of sit still, sitting in a recliner watching TV for hours on end. Unless I'm exhausted, it's not something I enjoy. I would rather be out building or making or doing something. And that's evident if you look across all my channels. I'm constantly trying to stretch my mind and learn something and do something different. So Christmas lights kind of feed that creativity urge. I make like the decorations, like the hippos, I make those. It's an outlet for my old artist self. At one point in time, I actually did build things for the hobby. So you'll see a lot of my decorations that I have are kind of test samples or leftovers from when I did that. But anyway, that's not why I got into it. I didn't get into this hobby to make money. I got in it because it was creative and an outlet. And I've done Christmas lights most of my life. We used to have a big oak tree on the farm, and I would each year climb up, put a giant lighted cross in there. We'd put it up for Easter. We'd turn it on for Christmas, and the top of it was like 40 feet in the air, so you could see it for miles. But really, it wasn't till years later, after I gotten older and married, that I came across the crazy Christmas light idea. So, my first experience with crazy Christmas lights was there was a hotel. It was about half hour, 45 minutes from where I grew up. And they did a massive Christmas display featuring 100,000 incandescent C9 lights. They had to bring in a generator to run them. When you walked up to the wall of the hotel, it was warm. You could feel it from the lights. I mean, it was pretty massive, pretty cool. That was kind of my first experience with crazy Christmas lights. I don't think that hotel still does that. I think that was kind of a 80s or 90s thing. I don't remember if that was in the 80s or 90s. It was one of the two, but 100,000 C9s back then, people came from all over to see that. We had a nearby street called Peacock. Well, it was in a neighboring town. It's called Peacock Lane, and they would decorate. It wasn't over-the-top lighting. It was just kind of all of the homes decorated, and people went. They'd shut the street down, and you'd drive down the road and you'd look at the Christmas lights. So that was kind of a thing. But anyway, fast forward to when I was married, we had cable. That was the first time I ever had cable. And so as I was saying, it wasn't until I got married that we had cable, or I had cable for the first time. And I watched a show on TLC called Crazy Christmas Lights, and showed all these crazy Christmas light houses. And they had one that was California or Florida or something like that. Through the whole show, I was trying to figure out what the equipment was that they were using. What was it that was controlling the lights? And I watched all these different houses, and they kept blurring out the logo. And there was one part of the clip where they zoomed into the Christmas light controller, and they had forgotten to blur out the brand name. And I came across the brand name. It's called Lightorama. And I was like, sweet, I know what it is now. And so my search began for Lightorama. Yeah, I missed a steak. So my search began, and I found the Lightorama company, and I learned all about crazy Christmas lights. and the light controllers that you need. So it was pretty cool. I was not well off at the time, and I needed money. And this is where the weird fun part goes. So I participated in the forums. I learned all about them. I knew I needed money, and then there was a contest in town, and I had a family member that was going to participate in the weight loss competition. It was like, okay, you know, to be supportive, I will join you in that, and we'll both do it together. And that was about the time that the Biggest Loser television program was on, and so I started off with that and put in my fee to join, and then I started realizing that mathematically everything was based on percentages. And I thought about how much overweight I was, you know, what was my high school weight, what was I at now? And I came to the conclusion that if I did it just right, percentage-wise, you know, looking back historically at the percentages that people used to win, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could win this thing. So I was about the weight that I am now, and I realized I could have a winning percentage if I started just cutting weight. So I did. And long story short, I didn't win, but it took second. So in our community, I lost the second most percentage of weight, and it got me like $600. And so I took that $600 and I purchased my first 2 Christmas light controllers. And then after I had those Christmas light controllers, bring it in close. So anyway, after I bought those Christmas light controllers, I found out that there was a community of Christmas lighters that shared information. And each year they had an annual gathering where they discussed Christmas lights and Christmas light topics. So this is a whole hobby. You know, you can have hobbies over everything, and there is a hobby based on Christmas lights. So I joined the community. I went up there. They had an auction. Oh, I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a reverse auction where it starts high and then the price drops, and you have to you start the price off high, and then each time the auctioneer calls out, the price drops, so it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But it's like a game of chicken, a financial game of chicken. So you have to know when to say, yeah, I'll pay that. And I ended up winning a Christmas light controller for like $100, 125, somewhere around there. So I had 3 controllers. And then I built some wireframes for a guy and did trade and got 2 more Christmas light controllers. So in very short order, I went from 2 Christmas light controllers to 5 Christmas light controllers. So, you know, after that, I just started bartering and trading, built stuff to sell, bought more Christmas lights, built more stuff, sold that, bought more Christmas lights. So that's really kind of how I built my hobby, is through bartering and trading. That's how I was able to afford a lot of this hobby, which has been kind of fun. But yeah, it all started because I saw a television program. I saw the logo of the company. I did an extreme weight loss, and here I am a decade and a half later, and I'm still at it. We're down significantly. You know, we don't have the electrical capacity that I need. I run this off very little power, unfortunately. I just haven't been able to afford to replace the electrical panel to upgrade it to do more lights. But at the highest, I did, I think, 80,000 Christmas lights. I have 2.5 miles worth of extension cords, so I can go pretty big. It's just I don't have the electricity to do that here. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started. Anyway, I mean, I enjoy it. It's something to do in the wintertime. I really love an attractive garden, and this is definitely a way to do it, you know, to have something in your garden in the wintertime that's new and unique. Now, if you watch my plant channel, you'll notice I do unique stuff in my garden. So this is just an offshoot of that. You know, all the flowers are going to go away soon, so this is a way we can enjoy it. So those of you seeing me just connect these end to end to end, I do watch my electrical usage very closely. Reading the box on this, it says I can put a lot of strings together. In fact, it says I can put 90 sets together. I don't think I have 90 sets. I think I only brought 35 sets out here. So don't worry about that, you know. And I have meters to measure the amperage, so I stay under the recommended amounts. So yeah, we're good on all that. So yeah, modern LEDs have really allowed this hobby to expand. You can basically put up 10 times the number of LED lights that you used to be able to put up of incandescents. So if I could put 10 strings together, now I can put 100. You know, 10 strings on my house, now it's 100 strings. So the light density has increased, which has really allowed crazy things to happen. Raffy, kitty, 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 kitty. Raffy, kitty, 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 kitty. Raffy, kitty, kitty, kitty. Kittens come out and play. Raffy, kitty, kitty, kitty. Raff. All right, there you go. That is video 2 of the Christmas Hippo River. Give you a little flyby of what we got accomplished today. So we worked on our grid on this side. We got our frames secured. So that is one half of the Hippo River. And then over here, we will work on the second half. So there you go. That is Hippo River for I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. It's about half done. So now we've got to finish up with that grid for the river. We got to add the green grass. So up where the hippo bottom is, there's going to be green grass. So the lights will switch to green. Yeah, a lot of work, but I think we're about done with that. And I think I'm going to wrap this video for now. So keep those little lights a twinkling. Merry Christmas. Ag Teacher Christmas out.